because its chemical activity is in its metallic form in nature.
Good evening.
Oh, with the app?
Can we get started?
Spill on myself? Yeah, sure.
I'll make that now.
I understand that.
I have to get my one.
Oh wait, you're speaking now.
I'm going to be facing this way.
Okay, let me grab that.
Thank you.
I'm positioned right here. I want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for coming. I want to welcome you on behalf of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. Mark Jaffe is not with us tonight as president of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, but he wishes to extend his welcome. This is, as Kent said on the way in, this is the first indoor event that we've had, and it's a very important time. I want to, so this is New York City Comeback. We started last year as a meet and greet, and it's will continue on Tuesdays and Thursdays as a meet and greet. I was telling one of the guests here tonight about how we started this, which is that I wanted to come into New York last August and have more than one meeting, which was very hard. So I started to organize these meet and greets for Tuesdays and Thursdays, so when I could come in, there would be another reason to be here. So I figured if I did it, then everybody else would want to join. And it turned out to be a really good way for people to get together, talk, and have nice meetings. I want to just, before I forget, Shire, could you just stand up and just wave your hand? Shire is the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce business analyst, and we'd like you all to join. So make sure you get Shire's business card and give consideration to joining the chambers. Chambers are very important. I started the Long Island City Astoria Chamber of Commerce in 2007, and we had no buildings there then except the Citicorp building, and if you look at Long Island City today, it's very important. So thank you for being here and representing the chamber. Thank you. I want to just, before I actually introduce our featured guest, our honored guest, I should say, I just want to say that New York City and coming back, I came to New York City in 1969, and so I've been here a long time. I left for a few years and came back for a very short time. But New York City is a center of creativity and the center of excitement and the center of finance and the center of so many things that are so important to the entire world. I like to think about imagination being a very important part of what makes this a great city. Imagination, entrepreneurship both are so integral to freedom, and the freedom of all of the things that we have is so precious. And what drives New York City is it is the center of creativity. And the people who come here have in their mind that they have a way to, with their own minds, to add value to this city and to be creative and to have an opportunity to benefit from that creativity. So whatever everybody says about why people are going to come back to New York City, believe me, it has to do with their imagination, it has to do with their human nature, it has to do, and that's what drives value, because the more people who have that inspiration to be entrepreneurs or to be actively involved in creating value, that's going to drive people coming back here to this great city. This city's been great to me. I came here, I say 1969. At that time, we had a huge media business. I came to be in the advertising agency business. Don't ask me how. I could tell you a lot of stories about how I transitioned over time from wanting to be in the advertising agency business to being a deal maker. it's a long story, and it has a lot of good sub-stories, but I don't want to take up your time. It's a city that helps people like me who want to do something important to make something happen. They can do it here. If you can't do it here, you can't do it anywhere. I'm a great Frank Sinatra fan. This is a great city, and I want to thank all of you for coming back and being part of the stimulation that makes the city work by meeting together and exchanging ideas and getting to know other people. So my first, I was just going to introduce you.
You leave like the door open or window that much, you change the dynamic of the room.
You can always tell the CEO. He's opening the doors, closing the doors, making sure things are operating right. So my first exposure, he's amazing. My first exposure to Kent
Nice choice of words.
was he was being interviewed by a guy who interviews some of the most important people in the world. I don't know how he knows all these people, but Kent was being interviewed, and he said something really fascinating to me, at least, just kind of following the theme of creativity and the city coming back. Because he was talking at that time about, this was back in March, I think, maybe May, and he was talking about the major retailers whose stores were closed. And he said, it's not going to matter, because somebody else is going to come along, and it's going to be like the Champs-Élysées. There'll be nice little shops here and there that will replace, you said that, right? Yeah. Something like that. The nice little shops, because there's always entrepreneurs who want to have the little bakery or something that will make the city fresh again. And that really impressed me, because it showed that he was thinking as a visionary about what the future of the city would be, even though at that point it was really down. And
Still is.
And it stuck in my mind. So a few months later, I had the opportunity to serve as an interim president for the National Realty Club, and I asked my friend, who I really didn't know at the time, if he would be willing to be interviewed by another friend of mine, and so he agreed right away. He was like, sure, because he's the kind of guy who likes to jump in and really be part of where the action is. And then not too long after that, I asked him if he would mind serving on the board of directors, because I was reshaping the board of directors at the time, and I wanted to have some prominent people. And he immediately said, okay, just like that. So when I was thinking about who I wanted to kick off the comeback New York City event, I asked Kent if he would mind doing this, and he said yes. And I said, well, great, because we'll honor you as the Chamber of Commerce as being the man of the 2021 comeback to New York. So I want to just... Your plaque is coming.
They're very nice. Anyway, thank you guys for having me here and coming here to listen on a rainy, cold day. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about where we are in our world, and then start from a macro point of view, and then get a little more granular as we go. And feel free to ask questions along the way. So the question everybody asks in the world, you know, are we going to be permanently chained from COVID? The first thing I would say is yes, in a unique way, right? The first thing is this: a little device like this was a medical device, period, right? Now it's become a political device. And so I don't understand why. I certainly see of how it got there, but this is a medical PPE, a personal protective piece of equipment, right? And for some reason, somebody in the administration, who's no longer there, decided that this would be a political device, which it's not. So it's purely protection, right? The name of it is personal protective equipment. And how it turned into a political statement is beyond me, really. But that is a permanent change, that we could take something as basic as a mask, right, and turn it into some kind of political statement or non-political statement. So that's a fundamental, massive change in the way we look and go about the world, which is shocking. So if anybody, there's a big set of people in the United States today that don't believe necessarily that, there we go, sorry.
The plan is in the way.
Yes, okay. For me, so I can't see it. There's a group of, you walk around and people, think that if you wear this, you are one political persuasion. If you wear it, if you don't, you're a different political persuasion. It's just to protect us. The same people who don't believe that this is a protective device, if they were in a surgery, in an operating room, and the doctor walked in like this, without this, they'd freak out and ask them to put a mask on. But blowing COVID around is totally cool. Wearing this in a surgery, going to surgery without that, we lost perspective of things. So yes, I think we're in a permanently changed environment because, for whatever reasons, facts, just simple facts, have now become opinions, right? So we used to have a fact in life. This is a medical device. And you can have an opinion. It bothers me, it itches, I don't want to wear it, I think it's a great thing, I'm saying whatever, but the fact was a fact, and then we had opinions. Today, we don't have facts, all we have is opinions, and we don't have anything to coalesce around, which is a basic fact. So we are living in a completely bifurcated world where there's no common fact pattern, and then we can't even agree to disagree because there's no facts. If I tell you it's pitch black outside, and you say no, it's still daytime, we're never going to make an agreement or disagreement on anything because the facts are all wrong. This has caused, which is supposed to be just a safety tool, has become a divisive tool in America, and it's unbelievable. So you can walk into some places and they ask you to put a mask on and people find it totally objectionable to the point where people are arguing about it. But those same people who find it objectionable, if I walked in and lit a cigarette up and smoked on them, all hell would break loose, right? But I could go blow COVID on them. So that's a massive change in America. So yes, we are permanently changed as a result of this. Now, COVID was not the product of the change. It was just a tool to create just a mess. So, but nonetheless, we're living in this today. So you go to New York City, we live in a certain environment. You go into Miami, and it's as if nothing's going on. Things are booming, it's fine. But when you start looking at the real statistics, forgetting who has COVID and who doesn't have COVID, because when they stopped at one point in October issuing tests, the COVID rate dropped a lot. No kidding. If you don't test, you don't find out, right? But if you look at the hospitalization rate, and you look at the death rate, and you look at the variant rate there, it's going to be astronomical over the next 30 days to 60 days because of the spring break and all that stuff. So we're clearly living in two different worlds in America right now, which is very, very sad. I think that the COVID has brought about a lot of that. So having said that, where are we in the world? I'm living maybe in one reality, but so I can't speak on the other, which I don't think is quite real. But where are we? So we're pushing 550,000 deaths, which is everybody knows it is an astronomical rate, more than all our wars combined. More, and Vietnam had 68,000 people die. That was one of our big wars. We're whether people think it's real or not, it is you can't tell that to 550,000 families that have lost people. So it's a massive change, and it's not going to go away fully, right, for a while. So hand sanitizers, they were out here before, they're here during, they're going to be here afterwards. That is for Purell, right? It is a massive change, and it's going to be a continuing change. Taking on the idea of taking thermoscan temperatures, right? Yeah, that's going to be, I think, a permanent place to be, because we do have flu season every year. So why not find out if people are going to have the flu and do that? So I think there's going to be some institutional changes. Sitting on an airplane, which to me I still have not yet done for over a year, but being enclosed in a little cabin, forget this room where I'm freaked out for just a door opening, you're in a little tiny fuselage, and yet people are traveling all the time, and to my knowledge, there have been very few, if any, people getting COVID from an airplane. So what we found is that we have technology to infuse massive new airflow and change of air. That's why buildings don't do that, right? But if you open one little window there and one here, everything changes completely because you have, but we don't have that built into our system yet. But the airplane industry figured out how to do it. So people are sitting on airplanes and now they're scrunched together. Yes, they're wearing masks, thank God, and all that. But they're changing the airflow so much that nobody's getting COVID. So that is a permanent change, and we actually have the technology to do something about it because they have done something about it. So, there are going to be permanent changes that we see. The concept of working from home, that's going to be somewhat of a permanent change. The first 3 or 4 months of COVID last year, March, April, May, the productivity rate of the workers in the United States as measured went up. Then it has declined ever since because you can't get work done as efficiently, as productively, day after day after day after day when you're working from home. But on the other hand, can you do some work at home that would be actually more productive? Right. So if you have 100 emails that you're behind and you're sitting in your office and you're working every day and people are knocking on your door, phones ringing, you're not getting those emails done. But if you say, I'm taking a day, right, which back then used to be, no, that's vacation day. No, but if you're taking a day to work at home now, you can actually buzz through your emails uninterrupted. Yes, that might be a productive day. So I think people are starting to look at the way in which we work, which means how and where we work, and that's a different thing. So yeah, we're going to have fundamentally structured differences. On the other hand, if you want to get anywhere in your job and you're working from home, and I'm working for Arthur, and I'm in an investment bank, and Arthur's my direct boss, and I'm in, fixed income, like one of my son's friends in fixed income, major great firm the guy works for, and I'm working for you, and I want to meet your associate, which is next door, right, to you in the office, and I'm working from home, you're working from home. I'm never going to meet this guy. I'm never going to bump into him at the coffee station. I'm never going to walk into him and bump into the elevator. I'm not going to do it. And if I want to go to his division, which is, yield man, whatever it is, I'm going to cold call a person who's working at my company who I could bump into every day, and I'm getting nowhere. And then he's going to talk to you, and then you may get pissed at me that I went around here. Right. So the opportunity, the creativity, the networking, the all of that stuff that goes on with human contact, that has gone way, way, way down. And that's why being in offices is very, very important. Being in places like this is very important. Networking that's how things actually get done. So productivity actually, also has gone down. So one would think that accounting, which is just it is black and white, right? It's either right or it's wrong. So you'd think accounting would be something that would be, you could work anywhere as long as the numbers work and everything. It doesn't work as well, and productivity has gone down, and mistakes are being made because the direct supervision isn't being as made. Some, like for instance, in one of the properties I had, somebody forgot to close the books one term. It was in November. They never got around to it. People didn't know. It was February, and we figured it out, and they have to go back and now reconcile everything else. So they're even on the basic elements of like accounting, which one would think would be so binary that we would be able to work very, very efficiently from home. It doesn't work well. So, and that the business world has figured that out a long time ago, and had been working, which I'll give you some numbers on, towards interconnectivity, etc. But now everybody thought, well, you can do it from home, you can do it from, but it doesn't work. So where were we? 1987, just to give some numbers back. 1987, the average square footage per New York City worker was 350 square feet per person, right? Because of efficiencies, we've packed more people into cubicles, we've had a little bit less offices, we have more open space, more communication, all of those wonderful things that we use. But, per person, it went down to about 175 square feet per person of usable space. So much, so you could pack more people in an office, spend less, but you had people worked in cubicles and more open areas, and then what happened, you had more areas like this we can hang out in and do stuff, but they still could take fewer amount of office space and pay less rent, rent on space, and pack more people in, right? So that, I think, is going to go back a little bit differently because you're going to need a little bit more space. The low office furniture right now, is not going to be so popular. You're going to need a little bit higher furniture. And we should have that anyway because of just the flu season, right? Just to give some perspective, 35,000 Americans die of the flu every year, right? Okay, that's, so if we could reduce, you know, we peaked once at 60,000, but it's about 35,000. So, you know, and nobody ever looked at it. Did you get a flu shot? No. Did somebody get a flu shot? You know, I mean, that's the usual conversation, but nobody ever thinks the flu is deadly. But, you know, it is the, you know, direct indirect contributor to 35,000 deaths. You know, we've had 500,000 deaths in 1 year. So obviously this is a little worse than the flu, as some people have said. But there's going to be an impact. So yes, we're going to do that. Anybody that's had a vaccine and you've gone through all your things, you'll probably need a booster shot every year, right? So then there'll be a big debate whether you should have the booster shot, you shouldn't have the booster shot. You know, the anti-vaccinated people are going to be more energized. So, I mean, so our splintered world, I think, has been way exacerbated from COVID. So I think the direct impact will go away. We were going to have fewer deaths, we're going to have fewer COVID cases, and we're going to be able to open up our society a little bit. But the indirect impact is disastrous for America, in my opinion, which is the splintering of opinion, the splintering of ideas, the splintering of recognition of science, whether science is real or not real, the splintering of our fact patterns. That COVID has exacerbated massively, and over a long period of time, I think is going to be more damaging to our society and our interrelationship among each other than anything that we've ever seen before, which is ironic in the world because in past times when America was under siege, whether it was war or famine, you know, or pandemic, right? What we did as Americans is we had a common enemy. In this case, it would be COVID. We'd all gather together. We'd all pull together from every walk of life, from every division, whether you had a little R by your name as a Republican, or a little D, or a little I for an independent, or, you know, and a U for undecided. Everybody gathered up, everybody was together, and you fought this common enemy for the benefit of the collective. How you fought the common enemy, everybody had opinions, and we all argued and disagreed or agreed, but there was a common element of that. And the concept of being an American and feeling good about the country. All those things that were measurable went way up. People felt good about the country, way high percentages. And yet now we had a common enemy and it became splintering and divisive. And that is probably the biggest sin that has been injected into our society. And COVID didn't inject that. That was the human element, whether one thinks it's from the right side or the left side or whatever it is, but that injection has been probably more damaging and more destructive, in my opinion, to the United States and our common bonds as Americans than anything that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I think it's the wickedest thing I've seen since you know I was born. So that is something we're going to be dealing with long after we're not wearing masks. And long after we're not fist bumping anymore, or kicking each other to say hello, and when hugging comes back and talking comes back, legal hugging, of course, right? But you know, so yes, I think we are permanently changed from COVID in ways that are not just the physicality of life. So be it. So here we are. In a time now where we have 3 major vaccines in the United States, right? You got Moderna, you got Johnson & Johnson, and you got the Pfizer vaccine. God willing, we're going to be somewhere in July, if everything goes well, fairly well vaccinated for every American who wants one, which is a big issue, right? So who wants one is going to be a big thing. You know, if you look right now in the polls, 49% of all the Republicans that they have polled said they're not going to get the vaccine, they don't believe in it. So, okay, and then you have a high percent Democrat. So when did the little shot of a vaccine become another political statement? It's a friggin' medical device. It's a medical shot, right? It either works or it doesn't work. So now you've got politicians talking about whether, to a scientist who's like Dr. Fauci, and all due respect to him, I think he's a fairly bright guy, fairly honest guy, you know, and isn't pulling punches and telling us what's, and you got people arguing that, no, this is terrible. 49% of people say, no, I'm not going to take it. Like, where did this? You've got Fox News last night, this is a fact, followed by an opinion. The fact, last night, Hannity speaks on Fox News last night. He doesn't say the vaccine's bad, doesn't say it doesn't work. But what he does say, as a reporter, says, do you think this vaccine really works? So a reporter asking, I don't know who he's asking his audience or millions of people, you think the vaccine really works? Do you really think it's safe? Do you think they'd all, no. No offense, dude, but you're a reporter. Those are your questions you're supposed to answer to the population. You don't sit as a reporter questioning who? The audience? That, I'm not sure this works, what do you think? No, they think the questions, you as a reporter give answers and facts. He should be there. Here's the facts. The vaccines are out. Here's what it is. Here's what happens. This is the ramifications. There's some that says there's a problem. Give information to the population. Instead, you have somebody stirring the pot, not coming out and saying it doesn't work, but saying, are you sure it works? Would you really get it? No, that is not the object of a reporter. The object of a reporter is to provide information to people. So, we're in such a wild world right now that you live in two different places, right? Never before. So, assuming that in July, anybody who wants a vaccine can get a vaccine, and assuming people do take the vaccine, and I guarantee it, there are people who are going to get sick from it, and like any percent of the population, if you drink too much of this, there are people going to throw up. So should we ban this and go to prohibition? Or do you say, stupid, don't drink? I mean, yes, there's going to be some ramifications. But overall, it's going to benefit a population. And if everybody, wears a mask, right? If everybody got a vaccine, it's not for yourself only, you're helping the community at large. But we're splintered in what community means. So, assuming that happens, we're going to be starting to gather speed back together and open back up. So, what does that mean in the world? So, is office space going to be used? Yes, it's going to be used. Okay. Will it be used differently? Of course, it's going to be used differently. So, who is it that came out? Just group. They have. They have all these shopping malls, one of the big shopping mall companies, whatever. You probably read the, I don't remember who it was because I'm name challenged. But they have all these shopping malls. So what they've done, they've taken some of the shopping malls, particularly some out in Jersey, and they're devoting 150,000 square feet to satellite offices. So if you're a major law firm, right, or you're a major accounting firm or something, and you've got major offices in San Francisco, or major offices in downtown New York, what happens? Not everybody's going to commute in, not everybody feels comfortable commuting in, but you want that interchange, so they're going to lease up 40,000 feet as a satellite office. That way people go to work 3-4 days a week, they go home 1 day a week or 2 days a week, they don't always have to come into the central office in the downtown core. So, that's a reemergence of different things that are going on. But we are going to see our population start coming back to work. And things will start starting to get more integrated back. So where are we now? We're probably anywhere, we're 12% plus or minus of in New York City of occupancy in the building, right? My building that I'm in, one of them at 444 Madison, it can fit about 2,000 people. It's between 80 and 95 people a day, so way underpopulated, right? Everybody's particularly paying rent, what's going on, but that percentage is starting to go up. I looked at my office and went through, we have maybe 65 people that are in there, plus or minus. The bulk of the population, by the end of this month, will have been vaccinated, or had COVID, or both. So that changes the dynamic of our particular office space. Does that mean that when we can go and have meetings, if everybody got vaccinated, we could have meetings without a mask, maybe? We're here, we're very cavalier, right? 6 months ago, I guarantee none of us would be here. None of us would be without a mask. Not a chance. But we've gotten used to it. We think we are safer. If we open a window or do this, we're tired of this stuff. But things are actually factually getting better. So now we have to redo the city, right? We have the greatest opportunity and the worst opportunity, worst problem that we ever had, right? There's a Chinese character, right, which means crisis. With the pronunciation, is it, you speak what, Taiwanese, though, right?
No, Mandarin, but
so it's in Mandarin. The Chinese character for crisis is the same one as opportunity, right? So from every crisis there's a big opportunity. So if I wanted 10 years ago, 5 years ago, to be in the rental car business,